Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Slegaitis-Smith and this is a channel where we like to talk about writing, learning, and creating. Today is a creating style video where we are going to be digging into character building. I just finished a whole series on character building in the right section of the channel. So what good is it to just talk about it? Let's apply it and let's do it together. So we are going to be working over the next couple of create videos to create a character together so that we can practice applying the concepts that we talked about. So here we have a character building planner that I have created in order for us to do this project together, where we are going to be building characters together, practicing the things that we've been talking about in our character building videos that I have created. So this planner is one that I personally made. It isn't going to look too crazy different from any other character building planner that you can find out there, or character creation planner. There are going to be some key changes, but usually when you're finding one of these online just by searching them, there's usually just a change in some of the terminology that's used. This one does have a few added features that are very specific to the things that I was talking about in the character building videos. So we're probably going to do this in a 3-part series so that we don't take too long on anything. Let's dig right in. So the way that this character building planner is set up is that there are a bunch of different color-coded sections that we're going to be going through based off of the things that we've already been talking about as far as key areas that we need for building our characters. Today we're just going to be tackling the first 3 sections so that hopefully this video isn't too crazy long. So that is going to be our basic information. In basic information, our first topic is the story that this character belongs to. This is so that if you were to keep all of your information in different places, you would be able to still figure out what character goes with which story, just to help you keep your work organized. So for this character that I'm going to be working on, I'm going to be pulling from a work in progress that I have called Undertone. All my working titles are very working titles. I usually don't stick with them, change them like 4 to 5 times before I settle on one, and even then I might change it. That's perfectly okay. The character that I am going to be working on today is called Auntie Ida, and there will be a reason for the auntie part later. She's a secondary character who I'm building to be a mentor character because I need a mentor character for the work that I'm working on. I'm going to say she's 84 years old. Occupation, for occupations, she's going to have be a local florist. Depending on what type of story you're writing will vary, like what type of occupations are available. They can sound very ordinary, or you can have terms that you have crafted that go along with your world building. I don't need to do that for her, so I'm just going to stick with local florist. Alright, for social class, I am going to be using a term that I made up that goes along with the world building that I'm doing for this particular story. So the social class that Ida is going to be is the Jessen. And whenever you're using terms that you've come up with, it's good to put in what you mean by that. So Jessens are like blue-collar workers. That way that you can just keep track of the terms you're coming up with. And more specifically, because blue-collar can cover a lot of things, I'm going to say it's like a lower middle class in particular, because blue-collar can cover any area in the middle class. Special group status is a new category that I've come up with for this character building planner, where sometimes when you're creating a new fantasy world or a sci-fi world, you're going to have particular groups, such as like mage groups or whatever, that you will need to keep track of and might actually play roles in society. So Ada fits into the Avery social group status, which for my world just means someone who can't use magic. So if you have terms like this, once again, just make sure that you clarify for yourself what those terms mean, because it's going to really help you later in the world building. And that's our first section done. So section number 2 we're going to be working on is family. So for Ida's father, once again, they don't have to be like actually involved in the story. That's something that you're going to be deciding as you create this character and later on, or maybe you know ahead of time that you're not going to use them and this is just backstory information. Either way, it's all good. Her father's name is Tobe. And then you're going to want to think about what kind of relationship they have with their family members. So I have just the general good, bad, and indifferent categories here, but then you can also go into detail below that about why specifically they have that type of relationship. So we're going to say that she has a good relationship with her father, and so then all you'll have to do is highlight that word good. And then if you want to put more information in about why that relationship is good or bad, you can put that right below. Then her mother is Parsi, and we're going to say that she has a bad relationship with her mother because of the fact that they had a disagreement over her career choice. Sounds good enough to me. Like I said, all this stuff is movable and changeable as we keep going. The next part is the number of siblings. We're going to say she has 1. Just like with the parents, want to say whether it's a good or bad or indifferent relationship. I'm going to say she has a good relationship. And then our last category for talking about siblings is birth order, which can be important to your story depending on how you're doing your society builds. So it's good to have it written down just in case it is relevant to your story in some way. Once again, we're focusing on trying to make sure that when we incorporate this information into the story, it's actually going to be something useful for moving the story forward. So she's going to have a brother named Cade, and he's going to be older and she's going to be younger, and I'm feeling like I'm going to say that her brother's probably passed away. I don't know, maybe just because he's older and she's rather elderly at this point herself. The next part is relevant extended family. This is digging into that whole having relevant information for your story. So if there's going to be extended family that is important to the story for some reason, then you are going to want to include them, not just like knowing like the father and mother and like siblings, but like if for some reason the uncle is important or whoever, you are going to want to put that down there. For Ida, I don't think that there would be any relevant extended family for me to bring into this story, so I'm going to say none. And then if you did, once again, you'd have to say their relationship. Then our last category is family oriented, and where family oriented can be important is when you are looking at how they're going to relate to found family, where they're going to be placing their values, which we dig into a little bit more in a different section. So the importance of family orientation is just how much do they value those relationships that we have already outlined up here. Like, they have good relationships and they have bad relationships, but how much does that matter to this character? So for Ida, I'm going to say that she has strong ties to family, particularly to found family, because that's going to really help with who she is as a character, in the sense that I want her to be this mentor character. The fact that she values the found family will help with making sure that she's actually invested in them. So that's another way that family orientation can help play a role in the story. Alright, our last category we're tackling today is appearance. Our first category is apparent age, and you'll notice we already had a number for age, and that is because sometimes someone might look older or younger than they actually are. There might be a specific reason for that, whether they're using some sort of cosmetics or some sort of magic to change their appearance. So sometimes having an apparent age is important. For Ida, she is not doing any of those things, so her apparent age can be as close to her real age. That's just fine, so we're going to say 84 still. Then for eye color, we're going to give her some gorgeous brown eyes. Some nice, rich brown eyes. I think that'd be nice. For glasses, I'm going to say yes, she does have glasses. When you are making this decision though, think about how that fits into your world and if the technology would be available for glasses. For her hair color, I'm going to say she has white hair, or grayish, whitish gray, grayish white, more white than gray. You just want to be specific about the color as possible to keep that image in your head. Hairstyles, once again, you can have more than one hairstyle listed if your character were to change the hairstyle. I'm going to say that she has a messy bun just because it probably started out prim and proper at the beginning of the day, but she's kind of more a get down and dirty lady, so I think that would get messy by the time people are really interacting with her. That just feels like a good character point for her. For weight, we are not just going to be thinking about the number of the weight that she has. We can absolutely list the number of the weight, but we're going to be thinking about how she carries that weight in particular, because someone who weighs like 130 pounds and is really, really tall is going to look very different from someone who is 130 pounds and really, really muscular and things like that. So don't just think about like the actual number or poundage of how much your character weighs. Think about how they are going to be carrying that weight on their body. So we're going to say that Ida is 130 pounds. Apparently that number is going to be stuck in my head. And we're going to just define a little bit about how she carries that weight. The fact that she's a little bit more stocky or something like that. For height, we're going to be just plain Jane saying height. I'm going to say that she's 5 feet tall, no inches, because I feel like that's a good height for her. No good reason for it, just I feel like it fits. Alright, for skin tone, you can use whatever set of terms that you are used to using for skin tone. I'm going to say olive for her. There's a lot of changes constantly about what people are comfortable as describing skin tone as. So whatever system you use, as long as you're consistent with it, that's all that really matters. Consistency. Now for face shape, I'm going to say that she is square-faced. If you're not sure what face shapes are, you can very easily Google them and you can get examples on like drawings of what different types of faces are, or you can see like real people who you might know who they are and have their face type explained. For beauty and birthmarks, we can list anything that counts as a beauty or birthmark. So that's like freckles and moles and dimples and those types of things. So if your character has any of those anywhere on their body, you can list those here. I'm going to say that she has a mole on the right side of her face. But something that you can also consider when you're thinking about beauty and birthmarks is, once again, you don't want to like bog down your reader with too many details. So maybe you start out by having this detail, but then you don't actually like talk about it in the story just because it would be an extraneous detail. Completely up to you. Then for scars, I'm going to say that she has none. Once again, just do what would be relevant for your story and what is relevant to your character background. Alright, so our next section is the character model. So a character model is someone real or fictional that your character's aesthetic is based on. So like you saw a picture of someone and you're like, yes, that's what my character really looks like. Or maybe you didn't know what your character looked like and you went around and you found an image and you were like, yes, this feels right for this character. So that's what a character model is. So if you have that, you're just gonna pop that image in this part so that you can keep track of it. so that you can remember that this is the idea that you use in order to find your character. So for anti-Ida, I found this picture on Plexel, one of those royalty-free image sites, where it seems to fit her so well. She's just so happy, and she's among the flowers, and Ida's supposed to be a florist, and it seemed to really fit. So if you have an image like that, you just pop that in there so that you can keep that reference handy for yourself. The next section is, are they healthy? Once again, we're trying to find out if there's anything relevant about their health that might impact how they act in the story or things that happen. I'm going to say that Ida is healthy, but if your character is physically ill or has some sort of injury that might affect how they're interacting with the plot, it would be important to write that down in this section. Then for mannerisms, what we're really looking at for mannerisms is like a physical thing that they would do regularly, not so regularly that it would be like a quirk or a tick or something like that. So for Ida, I'm going to say that she doesn't have any, but you can think about if your character would have mannerisms. This might be something like twirling their hair while they're thinking, or rubbing their nose when they're nervous, those types of things. That does it for part 1 of character building. I hope that you had fun joining me on the beginning of this adventure, and I hope for sure that you will join me as we get into part 2 of the character creation. If you have any questions about the specific things that we were working on today or where we are going with this, you may absolutely leave them in the comment section below. I highly recommend that you check out the character building series if you did not watch any of it before joining us on this create portion of it. Other than that, please like, share, subscribe, hit that bell so you get notified when I post new videos, especially now that you're joining us on this series. And have a great one until the next one.